afternoon, folks. My name is Rich Longo, and I'll be your host. Thank you for joining us for another Flycast Partners presentation. Today's presentation is about what's new in RemedyForce Winter 2017, presented by Flycast Partners' own Kyle Hamilton. Kyle Hamilton is a software engineer for Flycast Partners with well over 25 years of experience in the IT service management space. His career started as a network engineer for Pro Systems and was quickly hired by Network Associates as a professional services consultant, where he delivered ITSM solutions around the world, thousands of customers. Kyle's primary focus is in ITIL processes and architecture. He has extensive knowledge of CMDB and asset management projects, and also deals with the automation and management solutions such as BMC Client Management and BMC Discovery. Kyle has been a certified consultant for Front Range, Peregrine Software, and BMC RemedyForce, Service Desk Express, BMC Discovery, BMC Client Management, as well as being ITIL certified in Microsoft MCSE and many others. Before we get started, Kyle, let me introduce our organization. Flycast Partners is here to deliver a seriously amazing IT experience. Founded and staffed by personnel that have many years of experience in the IT space, we took the best ideas from these collective experiences and added the best components necessary to grow and become a leading value-added reseller in the North American IT market. We offer best-in-class implementation services and training in ITSM, ITAM, and workload automation spaces using nothing but ITIL best practice. Our professional services can easily scale up or down in order to meet the IT needs of any customer, regardless of size, complexity, or budgetary restrictions. We offer implementation services both on-site and remote, as well as training to reinforce your company's long-term IT success. Our ongoing remote administration and support service offerings will enable your organization to focus on your normal day-to-day operations, saving you both time and precious money. I encourage you to visit our website at www.flycastpartners.com, or feel free to call us at 844-FLYCAST, that's 844-359-2278. As you can see, we have a variety of resources available at your fingertips on our website, everything from people, process, and technology to upcoming webinars and training that is provided by Flycast Partners, and future events, and a plethora of resources including data sheets and white papers. With that being said, I'm going to turn this presentation over to the man of the hour, none other than Kyle Hamilton. And Kyle is going to update us on some of the more drastic and exciting changes that they have made to RemedyForce Winter 2017. It's all you, sir.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that, Rich. Well, good afternoon, good morning, or maybe even good evening, depending upon where you're coming from. As Rich mentioned, I'm going to be presenting an overview of the most recent updates to the RemedyForce solution, what they refer to as the Winter 17 release, where they've made some significant changes to the application. I'll kind of focus on those and take you through all the updates, some of the things that for users that are current RemedyForce customers you might have already seen, many things that you might not be aware of. Kind of take you on a tour of all those features, because there are some things, as with all the releases, some things you'll see automatically, some things are opt-in, some things are opt-out. So I'll kind of try to highlight those and let you know what's available, so that for those customers that may already have been upgraded to Winter 17, there may be things that you'll see through this presentation that you're not currently seeing in your environment. So I'll let you know what those items are and how you can choose to opt in or opt out of those at your discretion. So probably the largest feature, the largest update in the Winter 17 release is going to be the user experience, or the UI transformation. They've done a complete redesign of the user experience, both from a self-service perspective as well as a staff perspective, and this redesign is available both for users that are using the Salesforce Classic interface, as well as users that may be already using the Salesforce Lightning interface. So in terms of some of the updates and the features that they've modified in the UI, first and foremost being a redesign of the RemedyForce console. And again, I'm going to take you through some slides here. I've got some screenshots that'll highlight, and then given time at the end, I'm going to try and get through as many of these things as we can and maybe show you some live features within the console. But I want to make sure and highlight everything because there is quite a bit of new content in this release to be able to take advantage of. So as mentioned, they've redesigned the RemedyForce console list view. You're going to see a completely new look and feel. The whole attempt around the redesign was to flatten the interface, make things very simplified, not as many screens to go through, not as many tabs to have to work through, no scroll bars to have to move up and down, lengthy forms, things like that. Trying to make everything available within a single pane of glass so that users aren't forced to have to click back and forth between buttons and different consoles to get access to all of the key details and the key information. They've also added the ability within RemedyForce to hide the Salesforce sidebar. Some of you that are already using RemedyForce may be familiar with this. There's a sidebar that sits alongside just about every screen inside of RemedyForce that contains quick links and hot links to things like the RemedyForce communities, RemedyForce help pages, training videos. We've given the ability now for the RemedyForce administrator to be able to go in and selectively give users the ability to hide that, or even generally hide that for everybody, so you can maximize the screen real estate for the console itself, so that when you're looking at tickets, you're not distracted by that sidebar and it's not consuming, valuable inches on your screen that you could be using to display additional columns of information. They've also added a nice Assign to Me option, both in a drop-down menu that you'll see, as well as a button directly on the incident or service request forms that users can click. So as they're reviewing a ticket, as they're looking at a service request, if it's something they want to take upon themselves, makes it a single button click to say, give this to me or assign this to me, and now they have it on their plate without having to go through, again, drop-down menus or pop-up windows where they have to make those selections separately. They've also added new highlighting capability directly within the console, so now you'll be able to highlight new incidents, new service requests that are coming in by color coding those, so that very quickly and very easily by looking at the console you can see what's new, what hasn't been looked at, what's already been reviewed by simply color coding those, and the administrator has the ability to go in and assign that color code option. You'll find in the screenshots and in my environment, it's kind of reflective of the RemedyForce blue and the Salesforce blue, but you could go in and highlight those as green or yellow or red, or use the entire color palette at your discretion to highlight what's just come into the console versus what things have already been reviewed and updated and looked at. They've also added the ability now for the end users to directly customize the console list view. Previous to this release, the administrator would go in and kind of more or less define for everybody what kind of columns of information were displayed, how those columns were ordered or sequenced in the UI, and it didn't provide the ability for individuals to be able to customize that. So now the administrator can go in and open that up for individual customization. So as users are working in the console, if there are certain fields of information that they're interested in, they can add those, they can reorganize those and move those around on the screen so that they can configure the environment according to their taste versus having kind of a one-size-fits-all. There's also now what's considered to be Smart View within the forms. We'll show you that it's kind of a pop-up or a slide-out window that provides quick and easy access to the most common features, specifically being able to add notes to tickets, being able to send emails to customers. Again, all with the design or the idea that We want to make it quick and easy to accomplish those typical tasks so that you're not having to dive down and dig through menus and change back and forth between screens to access those common features, but to have them all in a simple, one pane of glass. The activity feed is also a new feature. It's also in that slide out window that'll essentially give you a listing of all of that activity, the summary of all of the notes, all of the emails, all of the actions taken on that ticket, so that you've got a nice, easy way to quickly see a summarization of everything that's been done to that ticket. Again, all with the idea behind that you're not going to have to click back and forth between screens to get access to see all the data related to a particular record. So in terms of the restyling of the console, and you'll notice up at the top there's a little note here. Any new installations, any new trials of RemedyForce, and any upgrades will get this new RemedyForce console by default. So this is one of those features that is across the board. When you upgrade or when you get a new trial, you're going to see this new version. It's going to be there by default. You'll notice in here it shows kind of the color coding that I mentioned. So you'll see some of these incidents in this particular view are highlighted in blue, meaning that they're brand new tickets, brand new incidents. You'll see over kind of towards the right-hand side that we previously had an icon, and it's still there, that will let you know it's a new incident. But this is just another nice, easy way that you can quickly highlight what's new rather than having to, maybe you want to get rid of that new incident column and save that real estate or use that real estate for another piece of critical information, but still be able to see what tickets are new and what's already been looked at directly within the console without having to have that icon displayed. And again, the administrator can go in and choose whether they want this, smooth blue, whether they want that highlighted in red or green or yellow or whatever the case may be. Entirely configurable for your installation. In the list views themselves, again, the bolding now enables you to see, which ones are new, which ones have been looked at. It's also important to note that with the new Winter 17 release, what happened previously when you had a new incident coming in, even when you had that new incident icon, if you were to go in and reassign that ticket to another queue or to another owner or user, that new incident icon would disappear. What they've done within Winter 17 now is allowed you to be able to go in and review these tickets and make assignments. So take a service request and reassign it to another team or another queue, or give that to another user without affecting that new flag. So it remains highlighted. It still shows up as a new ticket, even though you've reassigned it. The only time that's going to disappear is if somebody actually goes into the record and makes some change to another field within the incident, whether they recategorize it, update the priority, update description information, things like that, so that you don't lose that highlighting simply by having somebody come in and say, I want to assign this to the network engineering team, or I want to assign this to facilities, and to have that highlighting disappear. I mentioned now that the console also allows now for individual personalization. So there is now an option directly on the RemedyForce console that was not there previously, where users can click and open up a window that will allow them to select the fields that they want contained within their console view. The administrator does control this, right? So they can control what fields appear within that list that you can customize from, but then based on what the administrators made available, users can go in and then selectively choose which fields to display, which fields not to display. They can reorder those or move those throughout the column list to determine what appears at the first column versus the last. And it does support drag and drop, so they can simply pull up a list of the columns that the admins made available and simply drag and drop those back and forth to choose whether to display those, as well as drag and drop those up and down within the list to determine where they appear within the console itself. I mentioned the ability now to hide the Salesforce sidebar, and this is something that could be done previously. However, it required going into Salesforce and making several different, changing multiple settings, and a little more complicated. What they've done with Winter 17 is now incorporated that directly within the RemedyForce admin page, so that the administrator can go in and selectively choose whether to enforce that console sidebar to be open at all times, whether you want to allow the user to collapse it or open it at their discretion, or whether you want it hidden across the board. Again, all for the purpose to be able to maximize the real estate for the console itself, so that that 2 to 3 inch sidebar that typically sits over there could then be completely collapsed, so that now you've got room to display another 2, 3, or 4 columns of information that you may find critical related to the incidents and the service requests you're looking up. The console form itself, and the incident form, the service request forms have also been updated. Previously, we've had type ahead functionality within RemedyForce for some time. However, when you started to use the type ahead feature, really the only thing it displayed was the user name, essentially. You'll notice here in this graphic now, as you start to use the type ahead feature, not only does it pull up the user name, it pulls up additional details related to that user. It can pull up their email address, the associated account. You can even choose to have the user icon or the user picture or photo displayed, so that you can actually get a visual of that customer and see who you're pulling up. And this enriched type ahead is now available across the board. So whether you're typing in the category, or you're working in change requests, you're working in problems, where previously it was limited to just incident management and service requests, they've now expanded that so that that type ahead feature is available throughout the tool. The search terms that you use within the type ahead fields have also been expanded to work on everything within that field. So previously, if you wanted to pull up Emma Brown, as in the example here on the screen, you needed to start typing Emma. Now you can type Brown, you can type Acme Supply, you can start typing E. Brown in terms of the email address. Any of those text entries would call up the same kind of type ahead or selection list, versus before, where you had to actually simply use the user ID to be able to use that lookup information. I mentioned the Assign to Me feature. This is a great feature that they've added into the console and directly into the RemedyForce console forms, so that users can quickly take those tickets that appear within the console, those new tickets that are highlighted, and choose to assign them to themselves or to others through a simple drop-down menu. From the console, they can either select within the console the records they want, click on the Change Owner field, and they'll see within there either the Assign to Me option or Assign to Others. And again, one thing they've changed within Winter 17 is this assignment change here is not going to remove that highlighting from the fact that that's a new ticket, so that as you reassign it to another group or another user, it's still going to appear in their queue or in their view as a brand new ticket. It's not going to get updated simply because you changed the assignment. Within the form itself, if you're actually looking at a ticket, then you'll also see there's going to be a brand new icon right up at the top next to the existing service level icon, and that's also referred to as, it's called the Assign to Me button. So that allows you to actually open up a record, review the details, look at the priority, look at the description, service information, configuration item details, whatever you need to look at. And then if you want to take that ticket upon yourself, all it requires is a single click of that button, and now that ownership information changes to your ID, and now that ticket's on your plate without having to go through and scroll down to the bottom and click the pop-up windows and select users from, multiple mouse clicks. They have enhanced the Smart View feature within RemedyForce, and this is something that I see very few customers are currently taking advantage of. However, this provides a wealth of information that's at your fingertips without, again, having to drill down and open up the ticket fully and having to dig through multiple pages and multiple screens. You'll see that the Smart View information, or this kind of Smart View summary page, provides information related to where this ticket is within the process, and that's at multiple places. I can see that it's the current status indicated up here in the top left. I can see that it's in process here in the little process bar, and when you're actually in the interface, you can click on that process bar and it'll actually open up to show you what the other phases are. So what happens after it's in process, or as it goes from open to assign to in process to resolve to close. That way you have a nice visual indicator as to where this is. You'll also note that they've got a graphical indicator here that shows status related to things like, waiting for a customer. So it may be in process or, currently working through the process. However, maybe we've set it to, a status or a status where we're expecting some kind of response for the customer. Gives you a little nice graphical color indicator, lets you know that you're waiting for the customer, and even gives you a time frame that you set that status, so it lets you know how long you've been waiting for that response. And those colored indicators that you see throughout this interface are kind of continued all the way through. So I can see down here, when I look at the incident record itself, that we're waiting on that customer, and this current ticket is in process but waiting on customer status. You can click the ticket itself, open it up, and actually see related tasks that may be associated with that incident. So other tasks that may be assigned out to other teams, whether they're in progress or whether they are opened and awaiting assignment. Again, they've got these colored indicators that are specific to the tasks themselves. You can see related configuration items that are associated to the incident, and be able to open those up. You'll see next to each of these boxes, you have a plus and a minus sign that will allow you to either expand that out or close those sections down depending upon how much detail you want to see. So I can see over here there's actually 2 change requests associated to this particular incident. I can click that plus sign just to the right of that, open that up, see those 2 change requests. But even from here, I can see from those 2 that one's opened based upon the green status, and I can see that the other one is in process or in progress status based on its color coding. So a lot of good information is available just from a graphical perspective now within the Smart View, which previously you'd have to go through multiple pages to kind of get to all of this information, not only clicking back and forth between the record details in the form, but also scrolling up and down to get to the linked tasks and get to the linked change requests and linked CIs and things like that. So they've done a lot of collapsing to make sure that from a single window, without having to scroll side to side and up and down, you've got a wealth of information at your fingertips. Over on the right-hand side, you'll also see the details section that's been summarized, where it brings up the high-level details in terms of, the critical information, status, priority, ownership information, brief description, things like that. And then you have the activity or action feed. Again, this kind of shows the sum total of everything that's ongoing and currently done against this particular record. And there are buttons right here at the top that allow you to add notes. You can send emails back and forth to the customers, and all of that information then gets summarized in a timeline format, so you can simply scroll through and see, from the beginning to the end of this particular record, what's been done and who's been involved and what they've accomplished. that activity feed, you'll see, actually exists now as what I call kind of an expandable window or a slide-out window that's on your incidents and service request forms. So at any point in time, you'll see just over on the right side of the form, you'll see this little activity feed tab and a little arrow button. So you can collapse this, maximize the form, and look at your form information. But at any point in time, if you want to view that feed, if you want to view details in terms of customer notes and staff activity, all you have to do is click on that, and that window slides out, and you can quickly then add actions, send those emails, whatever you need to do, again, without having to go through lengthy menus and multiple mouse clicks. As noted, currently, and this is something, of course, that BMC is going to be expanding upon in terms of the functionality that exists within that slide-out pane. Right now, you can send notes, you can send emails, you can add attachments to the document. If you need to do things outside of those three activities, they're still supported. You're just still utilizing the actions menu that exists on the details page. But again, the overall concept is they're going to continue to move more and more functionality into this slide-out window, into this activity feed window, so that you have to refer less and less back to that typical actions menu that you may already be using today. It does provide for hyperlinks within here. So if you are using more advanced email capabilities, CC, blind copy, attachments, things like that, you'll notice you've got these hyperlinks where you can show additional information or show more information, looking at this kind of as a summary of the activity. But if you needed to see more detail, then you simply click the hyperlink to be able to expand that out and look at the additional information. And again, this can be collapsed or opened up at any point in time just by selecting on the icon. As I mentioned before, a lot of these features that get updated as your RemedyForce environment gets upgraded to Windows 17 are not simply enabled so that you come in to the office the next day and suddenly you've got this new look and feel, and you don't know what's this activity bar doing and where did this activity feed window come from. The administrator can opt in for the majority of these features simply by going into the RemedyForce administration tab, opening up the console section, and they can enable things like that smart view window. They can enable that side, the slide out activity feed window. They can give users the ability to customize the console or not, and choose whether they want to display that slide out or the Salesforce, sidebar, right? Down here's where you can choose whether you want to highlight those new records that are coming in. And again, they can click on a little button here to access the color palette and choose what color they want to use to highlight those new records. So these are some of the configurable features from an administrator perspective to give you the ability to opt in and decide how you want to use those. This particular slide here just really summarizes all the features we've just talked about, and kind of highlights, if you're looking at a brand new install, if you get a trial of RemedyForce today or you purchase RemedyForce today, all of those features that we just looked at by default are going to be enabled and turned on. Now, if you're a current customer and you've upgraded or you're getting ready to upgrade to Windows 17, you'll see that some of those features get upgraded automatically. Some of those features are configurable and opt in and opt out by the administrator. So again, the console itself, the new look and feel, that's going to be something that everybody's going to receive. That UI update's going to be there for everybody, whether it's brand new install or an upgrade. But things like the Assign to Me feature and the ability to customize the console and things like that, you have the administrator, I'll say, has the ability to opt in or opt out in terms of whether you want to utilize those features or not. There are new enhancements to the knowledge articles. Probably the biggest one I can point to is the ability to embed videos. This has been a long-standing request from current customers and new customers alike. Is they've had the ability to put graphics and hyperlinks and support all kinds of other rich text features, but they'd like to have the ability within a knowledge article to actually have a video. The example here is like a YouTube video, being able to create a walkthrough video to actually show a user and step a user through a series of screens and show them this is what you need to do, or this is the solution to this problem, rather than having to hyperlink them out to YouTube. We can now directly embed that YouTube video right there in the knowledge article, so they can click on the play button and watch it right there when they query it up or call it up from the console. The articles also now display in what they call paragraph mode, so that you don't have these typical scrolling problems. We have large articles that were either extremely wide or extremely long, where users were having to scroll through section after section, vertically and horizontally to be able to see all the information. They now automatically condense that information down into this paragraph view, so that you can see everything within a single window without having to manipulate and move that window back and forth to see all the content. Now, everything to date is kind of focused on, or everything I should say to this point has focused on the staff view, the internal portal. They've also transformed the user interface for the self-service users as well. Very similar in format, trying to simplify users' access to get to the critical and key information without a lot of mouse clicks and clean things up, to be able to streamline the tile interface and get to that activity feed quickly and get to the information they need without having to click and point and dig around. This was previously on prior versions of RemedyForce, listed as self-service beta. As of now, it is officially out of beta, and is now officially referred to as self-service 3.0. And so you'll see they've, for users that may be familiar with the BMC MyIT product, a lot of the UX enhancements and UI enhancements draw directly from that. Creates a much more user-intuitive interface that's mobile-friendly as well. So it's a dynamic interface that works just as well on a tablet as it does on a laptop or a desktop or a 3-inch phone. So that regardless of where you're viewing, these knowledge articles or these requests, you get a consistent user experience, and you don't have to manage multiple interfaces. They've taken and permanently embedded what's called the My Activity feed window directly into self-service. So as you can see, unlike other tiles that existed previously where you could create new tiles and move them around and push things up and down and perhaps change the interface, they decided that what they wanted to do was permanently embed a feature called My Activity, so that customers always knew exactly where to go to if they wanted to get updates related to their tickets and their requests. So no matter what you do in terms of customizing the self-service interface, you'll always have this My Activity feed sitting there on the console, so that users in every case know exactly where to go to get that activity. When they click on it, and it presents it in a timeline fashion. So you could see in this particular screenshot, starting with the newest ticket and going down to the oldest, they can scroll through a list of all of their incidents and all of their requests in a timeline fashion, whether they're tickets that they've created for themselves or whether they're tickets they've created on behalf of others. They can quickly and easily scroll through that timeline list and actually click on those individual tiles that they see related to each ticket to bring up information related to it. you'll see it brings it up, and again, kind of that paragraph, what they call the paragraph style. So everything is more or less collapsed by default. So again, we don't, have scroll bars going left to right and top to bottom, but it still gives the user the ability to drill into specific information. If they want to see details, they can expand the details section. If they want to view attachments, there's icons that'll show them if there's any information on that tab. So, right off the bat, I know I don't need to click on attachments because there's no attachments there. There's no details added, but I can see that there, is a note, for example. So I know to click on the note field and expand it, and I can see what notes exist. And if I need to add a note or send information back to IT, I can, of course, click a button and easily add that here all within this single pane of glass. If I were to expand the details section, for example, then you'll see over here on the right the kind of information that it provides for the user so that they could see all the information captured within that service request or within that incident itself, and be able to scroll, and obtain all those details, again, all within a single nice, easy to read formatted page. I won't spend a lot of time here so that we can get into the UI for just a moment. But again, I think the key point here in terms of both self-service as well as the RemedyForce console is the console itself is going to be something that everybody's going to see. Changes in terms of the Assign to Me feature and customizability of the console. You can opt in and opt out. You can also choose whether you want the new self-service 3.0. It is important to note, if you look over here on the right side of this tile, for current customers that are, going through the upgrade or getting ready to upgrade, there are some considerations, right? You have the new UI, you have the new look and feel. However, there are retired features in self-service 3.0. So the ability to post to chatter, for example, the ability for the user to use the shopping cart, for them to be able to access their profile and change their profile information or update their email address. Those are features that, at least in the 3.0 version, have been retired. And when they say retired, it's really more that's simply not available at this point, I think is the best way to put it. Those features will probably come back in at some stage, given that this is the first attempt, the first version of the new UX. But it is important to note, for users that are trying to decide, do we stay with the current 2.0 version of self-service or do we upgrade to 3.0? Take a look at those retired features to understand that, if you want to take advantage of the new UI and what it offers, if you're using post to chatter, if you're using the shopping cart and things like that, you're going to give those things up in making that move. And that is a simple checkbox for the admin to say either use self-service 3.0 or continue with 2.0. So this is one of those features that is not, forced on users. It's going to be one of those opt-ins so that you can ultimately decide which version works best for your environment. Now, in the remaining minutes, I wanted to take just a few minutes just to kind of show you the actual UI, in operation. Here we've got the new self-service 3.0 up and running. So you'll see very simplified look and feel, very clean interface. Users can come in and start typing in, right into the search box a term or a question, and it'll automatically start performing a search based on those entered keywords. Are there matching service requests that meet the question or meet those terms? Do I have knowledge articles that pertain to that particular topic? And of course, being able to pull those, knowledge articles up again in kind of that paragraph style. So it brings everything up nice and clean in a single window. So if I need to follow along with the series of steps, I've got access to all of those features, including if I want to add, the videos, the graphics and things like that, and make those available, we certainly can in the new release. The View My Activity window that I mentioned right down here at the bottom is where it'll pull up the timeline right? Allow me to see for, everything for myself or for other users that I might have the ability to create tickets on behalf of. I can, view those within this timeline, and see what requests and incidents I have. And of course, I can click on any one of those. It's going to open it up again in that paragraph style view with everything collapsed. So again, we're kind of minimizing the screen real estate so that I can, open up and look at details. I can, look at the attachments if there are attachments have been provided, or notes, or if I need to add a note to this. It just makes it very easy from a user perspective to be able to see all the key details from within a single screen. Very clean and nice interface for them to have. In terms of the IT console that I mentioned, if you look over here, here's where you can see, the new look and feel to the RemedyForce console itself. I can see the text formatting, so I can easily identify based on that color coding highlight the admin can set up which of these tickets are new and which of these tickets have already been reviewed. If I want to, utilize like the Assign to Me feature, for example, from this console, I can now click on a ticket and go up to Change Owner and say Assign to Me, and now I own that ticket. You'll see it's filled in my name, and now it's on my plate. I can do the exact same thing from within the email, or I'm sorry, from within the incident, as I mentioned, by using the field right here at the top. So right now, it's currently sitting in the email and messaging queue or group. If I decide I want to take this upon myself, I can click the button at the top, and now it's assigned to me. And you'll notice even the icon itself is color-coded to show that, if it's black, that means I can click it and assign it to myself. If it's green, I've already done it. It's already on my plate and assigned to me. The activity feed window can be slid out here over on the side. So again, I can see all the actions and activity. If I need to add those notes, I can. Enter in time, for example, if I even want to track time spent on a particular task, so that, this becomes information other users can follow through this feed. Self-service users using that 3.0 version can view that activity feed when they pull up their activity. I can send email, messages to the users to do the same thing. So just gives them a nice, clean interface without having to go back and forth between multiple screens and multiple tabs, and gives me a single place as a user to be able to see everything quickly. And when I'm done, I can collapse that and get back to, reviewing the details of the ticket, or perhaps just closing this and moving on. So a lot of nice functionality, including, that ability, like I said, to customize the columns. If the administrator gives me this ability, I can come in here and, say, I want the client ID maybe down at the bottom, and I want to bring the assignment information up here to the top, and maybe I don't even want to see that VIP or the status, for example, and be able to remove that from my view so that I can have this configured exactly the way that I want, within the constraints of what the administrator allows me to do, right? They have to give you the ability to see those columns, and they have to provide those to you, but that gives each user the ability and flexibility to be able to customize the UI based on the way they want to work and the way that they can process this information best. I know we're right here at the end of the time, and I know I've kind of drunk from the fire hose in terms of covering this material, so I want to open it up for any final questions, any comments. Please feel free to ask away.
Doesn't look like we have any questions at this time. If anybody does have any questions, please go ahead and type them in the Q&A section provided on this WebEx. If you don't have a question right now but can think of one a little later, you can simply go ahead and email us at info@flycastpartners.com. That's info@flycastpartners.com, or reach out to us directly at 844-FLYCAST. That's 844-359-2278. It doesn't look like we have any questions at all today, Kyle. So I think with that, I want to thank you for your time today.
Absolutely. I appreciate everybody's time, and thank you for attending.
Thank you, folks, for attending another Flycast Partners presentation. Enjoy the rest of your week, and until next time.